The snow fell in thick, silent curtains, each flake a whisper of mercy Sonia knew she didn't deserve. Her hands pressed against her swollen belly, fingers slick with blood, her blood, as she stumbled between ancient pines that stood like silent witnesses to her dying. The baby kicked, a flutter of life against her palms, and Sonia sobbed with what little breath remained in her burning lungs. "Please," she whispered to the darkening sky, to the moon goddess she'd prayed to as a child before Darius had beaten the faith from her bones. "Please, not my baby. Take me, but let her live." Her knees buckled, and she collapsed into the snow that welcomed her like a frozen grave. The white powder bloomed red beneath her, spreading in a grotesque halo that reminded her of the roses that had grown in her grandmother's garden. Back when she'd had a home, back when she'd believed in prophecies and fated mates and kings who saved broken women. The memory surfaced unbidden, her grandmother's weathered hands holding her young face. "When death's shadow finds you, child, and all seems lost, a king will emerge from darkness with eyes like molten gold. He will refuse to let you go, and in his refusal, destinies will shift." Foolish stories, beautiful lies told to little girls who didn't yet know that alphas took what they wanted and discarded what they broke. Sonia's vision blurred, the world tilting sideways as her cheek pressed against ice that felt almost warm now. Shock, probably. Her body shutting down, prioritizing the baby. Always the baby. Her hand remained on her belly, feeling each precious movement. "I'm sorry," she breathed, her lips forming the words even as sound faded. "I'm so sorry I couldn't protect you." The cold seeped deeper, numbing the pain that had been her constant companion since she'd fled Darius's territory 3 days ago. 3 days of running, of stumbling through forests and across frozen streams, of checking over her shoulder for the warriors he'd surely sent after her. She'd stolen nothing but her own bruised body and the child he'd never wanted. Yet she knew he'd hunt her anyway. Not from love. Darius didn't possess love, but from pride. She was his possession, his to break, and he'd never tolerate her escape. But she'd gotten so far. Almost to the northern border where legend said the Alpha King's territory began, where Darius's reach supposedly ended. Almost. Not far enough. Darkness crept in from the edges of her vision, soft and inexorable. Sonia's eyes drifted closed, her body growing impossibly heavy, sinking into the snow as if the earth itself wanted to claim her. Then, sensation. A prickling at the back of her neck that even dying couldn't suppress. The instinct that had kept her alive through 2 years of Darius's fists and fury. She wasn't alone. Sonia forced her eyes open, snow crystals clinging to her lashes. Through the gathering dusk and falling snow, between the towering pines, something moved. Not something. Someone. A presence so powerful it made the air itself thicken, pressing against her skin like a physical weight. Golden eyes emerged from the shadows. Ancient. Infinite. Burning with an intensity that pierced through her fading consciousness. The eyes moved closer, and Sonia's heart, that stubborn, stupid organ that refused to quit, hammered once, twice, 3 times against her ribs. King, something primal whispered in her mind. Alpha, danger. But her body couldn't move, couldn't flee, couldn't do anything but lie broken in the snow as those golden eyes drew nearer, as a figure materialized from the twilight, as her grandmother's prophecy echoed through her dying thoughts. "He will refuse to let you go." The darkness took her. Cassius had walked the northern forests for 3 centuries, had memorized every tree and stone, had marked the passage of time in seasons and snowfalls that blurred together into an endless gray existence. Tonight's hunt was ritual, meaningless. He no longer needed to hunt, no longer felt the thrill of the chase. He simply walked because standing still in his empty fortress had become unbearable. Then he caught the scent. Blood. Female. Pregnant. And beneath it all, something else. Something that made his wolf surge forward with an urgency he hadn't felt in lifetimes. Mine, his wolf snarled, and Cassius's stride became a run, became a sprint through snow and shadow, following that scent like a beacon. He found her in a clearing of white and red, a broken angel bleeding out in the snow. The sight hit him like a physical blow. She was small, far too small, curled on her side with one hand protectively cradling her heavily pregnant belly. Dark hair splayed across the snow, and her face, moon goddess, her face, was a canvas of bruises in varying stages of healing. Purple, yellow, green. Someone had used her as a punching bag, had beaten a pregnant woman, had left her to die alone in the frozen wilderness. Cassius's rage was volcanic, a red haze that threatened to consume him, but he forced it down with the iron control that came from centuries of existence. Rage could wait. She couldn't. He dropped to his knees beside her, his hands hovering over her body, assessing. Shallow breathing, weak pulse, wounds on her back and sides, claw marks, relatively fresh. She'd been hunted. The baby. He pressed his palm gently against her belly and felt movement, felt the flutter of life still fighting. Relief crashed through him, unexpected and overwhelming. "Hold on," he commanded, his voice rougher than intended. "Both of you, hold on." He gathered her into his arms with infinite care. This broken stranger who shouldn't matter, who should be nothing more than an injured wolf seeking asylum. But the moment his skin touched hers, the moment he lifted her against his chest, the world tilted. The bond snapped into place with the force of a lightning strike. Cassius staggered, his vision whiting out, every nerve ending igniting with recognition. Mate. His mate. After 300 years of walking the earth alone, of believing himself cursed to eternal solitude, of accepting that some wolves were never meant to bond, she appeared, dying in his forest. No. The word came out as a growl, as a command that echoed with alpha power. You don't die. I won't allow it. He ran. The journey to his fortress took minutes that felt like hours, his supernatural speed carrying them across territory that would take a human days to traverse. He crashed through the main gates, his roar bringing guards running. "Marcus!" His beta appeared within seconds, eyes widening at the sight of the woman in Cassius's arms. "Get the healers. Now. All of them." "Sire, she's—" "Now." The Alpha command rolled out like thunder, and Marcus fled. Cassius took her to the royal healing chambers, a room he'd built decades ago but rarely used. Ancient stone walls carved with protective runes, a pool of spring water infused with healing properties, tapestries that regulated temperature. He laid her on the cushioned platform beside the pool, his hands reluctant to leave her skin. Her face was slack, unconscious, but moon goddess, she was beautiful beneath the bruises. Delicate features, full lips, dark lashes resting against two pale cheeks, and that belly, round and full with child. Another man's child. Some distant part of his mind registered. But his wolf didn't care. The baby was hers. Therefore, his to protect, his to claim. Footsteps thundered in the hallway, and then his healing chambers flooded with people. 3 healers, led by Aurora, his most skilled, their arms full of supplies. Marcus stood in the doorway, his expression carefully neutral. "Sire," Aurora began, her experienced eyes taking in the woman's condition. "She's in grave condition. The wounds, the blood loss, and the pregnancy complicates. Save her." Cassius didn't recognize his own voice, guttural and desperate. "Save them both. We'll do everything we can, but you must understand." "No." He moved to stand over his mate, his body a shield between her and the world. "You don't understand. She lives. The child lives. This is not a request. Ilara's eyes widened, and he saw the moment she registered his tone, the desperation beneath the command. She'd served him for 50 years, had never seen him like this. Everyone out except the healers, Marcus said quietly, ushering guards from the room. Then to Cassius. Sire, perhaps you should— I'm not leaving her. You're covered in blood and snow. You're tracking mud across the— I'm not leaving her. Marcus raised his hands in surrender, and Cassius turned back to watch as the healers began their work. They cut away her tattered, bloody clothes, revealing the full extent of the damage. His rage built with each new wound they uncovered. Claw marks across her ribs, bruises circling her throat, older scars layering beneath fresh injuries. Someone had tortured her, systematically, over time. "Who did this to you?" he whispered, knowing she couldn't hear, promising anyway. "Tell me, little mate, and I'll paint the earth with their blood." The healers worked in synchronized silence, cleaning wounds, applying poultices, wrapping bandages. Ilara examined the baby, her hands glowing faintly with healing magic as she assessed. "The child is strong," she said finally. "Stubborn. She's holding on." "She?" Cassius moved closer. "A girl, yes. About 8 months developed, if I'm judging correctly." Ilara's expression softened. The mother's body is protecting her, channeling what little strength remains to keep the baby alive. Even dying, she chose her child. Cassius felt something in his chest crack open, some frozen part of himself he'd thought long dead. "Will she survive?" Ilara hesitated too long. "The next few hours are critical. She's lost so much blood. And the wounds. Whoever did this intended to kill her slowly. Add the stress of advanced pregnancy, the hypothermia, the malnourishment." She met his eyes. "I cannot make promises." "Then make miracles." Cassius pulled a chair beside the platform and sat, his hand finding his mate's where it lay limp against her belly. "Because I refuse to lose her before I've even learned her name." Hours blurred together. The healers rotated, maintaining constant watch, but Cassius never moved from his mate's side. He held her hand, felt her pulse flutter beneath his fingers, and willed his strength into her through sheer force of determination. As dawnlight began filtering through the high windows, she stirred. Just a flutter of eyelashes, a soft moan, but Cassius leaned forward intently. "That's it. Come back to me." Her eyes opened, beautiful gray eyes, clouded with pain and confusion, and locked with his. The mate bond, already present, flared between them like struck lightning. He watched awareness dawn in her gaze, watched her feel it too, this connection that defied logic. Her lips parted. She tried to speak, managed only a whisper. "You're real." "I'm real." He squeezed her hand gently, carefully, terrified she might shatter. "You're safe now. I've got you." Something flickered in her eyes. Fear? Hope? Relief? And then they rolled back as consciousness fled again. Her hand went slack in his. "It's all right," Ilara said quickly, checking her pulse. "She's stable. Her body needs rest to heal. This is normal." Normal. Nothing about this was normal. Cassius had found his mate dying in the snow, pregnant with another man's child, beaten within an inch of her life. And yet, holding her hand as she slept, feeling that precious bond humming between them, he felt more alive than he had in 3 centuries. "Marcus," he said without turning, knowing his beta still lurked near the doorway. "Send scouts. Find out who she is, where she came from, who hunted her, and send a message to the surrounding packs. The Alpha King has found his mate, and anyone who threatens her will face my wrath." "Yes, sire." A pause. "And if someone comes to claim her?" Cassius's eyes flashed gold, his wolf rising to the surface. Then they die screaming. He settled back in his chair, his thumb tracing circles on the back of her delicate hand, and watched her sleep. She was bruised, broken, carrying another male's child. And she was his mate, his destiny, his to protect, to heal, to cherish. "I don't know what you've been through," he murmured, knowing she couldn't hear but needing to say it anyway. "I don't know who hurt you, or why you were running. But I promise you this, no one touches you again. No one hurts you again. You're under my protection now, little mate, mine to defend." The baby moved beneath her mother's skin, a ripple of life, and Cassius's hand moved to hover over that swell. "Both of you," he amended softly. "You're both mine now." Outside, snow began to fall again, covering the tracks she'd left in her desperate flight. Inside, wrapped in warmth and safety for the first time in years, Sonia slept on, unaware that her life had just irrevocably changed. Unaware that the king from her grandmother's prophecy sat vigil beside her, and he was already utterly, completely hers. The world returned in fragments, warmth against her skin, softness beneath her body, the scent of pine and something else, something wild and masculine that made her wolf stir for the first time in months. Sonia's eyes fluttered open, her vision swimming before focusing on an ornate ceiling painted with celestial designs. The moon goddess gazed down at her from above, silver and eternal. This wasn't Darius's territory. This wasn't the forest. This wasn't death. Memory crashed through her. The snow, the blood, the golden eyes, the certainty that she was dying, that her baby would die with her. Her hand flew to her belly, panic spiking through her chest until she felt movement beneath her palm. Alive. The baby was alive. "Easy." The voice was deep, commanding, yet somehow gentle. "You're safe. Both of you are safe." Sonia's head whipped toward the sound, and her breath caught in her throat. He sat in a chair beside the bed. No, not just a bed. An enormous four-poster draped in midnight blue silk. The man from the forest, but now she could see him clearly. Tall, even-seated, with broad shoulders that filled out a simple black shirt. Strong features that could have been carved from stone. And those eyes. Those impossible golden eyes that watched her with an intensity that made her want to simultaneously flee and move closer. Alpha. Every instinct in her body screamed it. Not just any alpha, something more, something ancient and powerful that made the air around him feel charged. Terror flooded her system. She scrambled backward against the headboard, her movements clumsy and weak, her body protesting every motion. Pain lanced through her ribs, her back, reminding her of her wounds. "Please." The word came out as a broken whisper. "Please don't hurt my baby." Something flickered across his face. Hurt? Anger? But his expression smoothed quickly into careful neutrality. He raised his hands, palms out, and deliberately leaned back in his chair, making himself smaller, less threatening. "I would never harm your child," he said, his voice low and steady. "I have spent 3 days ensuring both of you survived. You were dying when I found you, Sonia. I brought you here to heal." She flinched at the sound of her name on his lips, though she had no memory of telling him. "How do you—" "You spoke in your sleep. Fragments of names, places." He paused, studying her with those ancient eyes. "Enough for me to piece together that you were running from someone named Darius." The name sent ice through her veins. She must have reacted visibly because his jaw tightened, a muscle jumping beneath his skin. "He cannot reach you here," he continued. "This is my territory, and I am the Alpha King." The words tumbled out before she could stop them. "You're Cassius. The legends. They're true." The corner of his mouth twitched, almost a smile. "Some of them, though I suspect many are exaggerated." He tilted his head. watching her like she was a puzzle he was trying to solve. You know who I am, yet you still fear me. I've learned to fear all alphas. Sonia pulled the blankets tighter around herself, using them as a shield, however useless. Her mind raced, trying to understand why the legendary Alpha King would save her, would spend 3 days keeping her alive. The stories said he was ruthless, that he'd ruled for centuries with an iron fist, that he'd never taken a mate because no wolf could match his power. Why did you save me? Cassius was quiet for a long moment, his gaze never leaving hers. Because you're my mate. The words hung in the air between them, impossible and terrifying. Sonia shook her head, denial rising in her throat. No, that's not. I can't be. The bond snapped into place the moment I touched you. His voice held absolute certainty, and beneath it, something else. Wonder, maybe, or disbelief. I am 300 years old, Sonia. I believed I would never find my mate, that the moon goddess had decided I was too much monster to deserve one. And yet, there you were, dying in my forest. Mine. Mine. The word resonated through her, and she felt it. That pull she'd been trying to ignore, that inexplicable connection to this stranger who should terrify her, but instead made some broken part of her soul whisper safe. I'm pregnant. She said it like an accusation, like a defense. With another male's child. You can't possibly want. I want both of you. He leaned forward, his forearms resting on his knees, his attention absolute and unwavering. The child is yours, therefore mine to protect, mine to claim as my own. This changes nothing. Sonia's throat tightened, tears burning behind her eyes. It was too much, too impossible. Men like him didn't claim damaged women carrying another male's baby. Alphas didn't look at broken, used things and call them mate. This had to be some kind of trick, some new torment her exhausted mind had conjured. I don't understand, she whispered. Why would you? Darius never wanted. Her voice cracked, and she pressed her lips together, refusing to break down in front of this stranger kingmate. Cassius's expression darkened, rage flickering in his golden eyes. Darius is a fool who didn't deserve you, and when you're ready, when you feel safe enough, you will tell me everything he did to you, and then I will ensure he never hurts anyone again. The promise in his voice sent shivers down her spine, not from fear, but from the certainty that he meant every word. A knock at the door interrupted the moment. Cassius's head turned and he called out, "Enter!" A woman stepped inside, middle-aged with kind eyes and graying hair pulled back in a practical braid. She carried a tray laden with food, and the smell of broth and bread made Sonia's stomach clench with sudden, desperate hunger. "Ah, you're awake!" The woman's face lit up with genuine pleasure as she set the tray on a nearby table. "I'm Aurora, head healer. I've been tending to you these past days. How are you feeling, dear?" The kindness in her voice, the gentle concern, nearly undid Sonia. She swallowed hard. Sore, weak, but better than I should be. "That's the healing pools and quite a lot of magic," Aurora said, moving to the bedside. She reached out slowly, telegraphing her movements, and when Sonia didn't flinch away, she gently pressed her fingers to Sonia's wrist, checking her pulse. "You were in terrible condition, but you're strong, both you and your little one." She smiled warmly. "She's quite the fighter." "She?" "A girl, yes. I can sense her essence." Alara's eyes twinkled. "She has her mother's stubbornness. Refused to give up even when the odds were against her." Sonia's hand moved to her belly again, protective and awed. A daughter. She was carrying a daughter. The knowledge settled into her bones like a blessing, like a promise. Will she be healthy? Despite everything? "The next month will be critical, and you'll need to rest extensively. But yes, I believe she'll be perfectly healthy." Alara patted her hand gently, Now, you need to eat. Small amounts. Slowly. Your body needs nourishment to continue healing. Cassius rose from his chair with fluid grace, and Sonia tracked his movement instinctively. He was even taller than she'd thought, easily 6.5 feet. All lean muscle and predatory power barely contained beneath human skin. But his movements were careful around her, measured, as if he was hyper-aware of not spooking her. "I'll leave you to eat and rest," he said, though something in his expression suggested leaving was the last thing he wanted to do. "Ilara will stay with you. Answer any questions. I'm just down the hall if you need anything." He moved toward the door, and Sonia felt panic flutter in her chest. She didn't understand it. This man should terrify her, should remind her of Darius, should trigger every survival instinct she possessed. But instead, his leaving made her feel suddenly vulnerable, exposed. Cassius. His name felt strange on her tongue, intimate. He turned immediately, those golden eyes finding hers with startling intensity. She struggled for words, settling on inadequate ones. "Thank you for saving us." Something softened in his expression, something ancient and lonely and grateful. "You never have to thank me for protecting what's mine, Sonia. Never." He left, the door closing softly behind him, and Sonia released a breath she hadn't known she was holding. "He hasn't left your side for 3 days," Alara said quietly, bringing the tray to the bed. "Not once. We had to practically force him to change clothes. I've served the Alpha King for 50 years, and I've never seen him like this." She arranged pillows behind Sonia, helping her sit upright. "Whatever you've heard about him, whatever legends have reached your ears, he's more than that. He's capable of great gentleness, great loyalty. And for whatever reason, the moon goddess has chosen you for him." Sonia accepted the bowl of broth, her hands trembling slightly. "I don't know if I can do this. Be what he needs. I'm so broken. Ilara, Darius. He broke me in so many ways." "Then perhaps," Ilara said softly, "the Alpha King is exactly who you need. Someone strong enough to protect you while you heal. Someone patient enough to wait until you're ready to be whole again." She smiled. "Eat now, dear. Small sips. And then rest. Everything else can wait." Over the next week, Sonia's world narrowed to the royal bedchamber and Cassius's unexpected tenderness. He visited her throughout each day, never staying too long, always respectful of her space, but constant in his presence. He brought her books from his extensive library, sat beside her while she ate, told her stories about his kingdom that made her laugh despite herself. He never pressed her for details about Darius, never demanded anything from her. He simply existed beside her, patient and steady as stone. Today, Ilara had declared her strong enough for a short walk in the private gardens, and Cassius had appeared within minutes of the announcement, offering his arm with careful formality. "Only if you wish," he'd said. "But I thought you might enjoy seeing the spring roses. They're blooming early this year." Now, Sonia walked slowly through the most beautiful garden she'd ever seen. Her arm tucked lightly through Cassius's, her body supported by his strength when her legs grew tired. Roses climbed ancient stone walls, their perfume mixing with honeysuckle and jasmine. A fountain burbled nearby, its water crystal clear and dancing with sunlight. "My mother planted this garden," Cassius said quietly, pausing beside a particularly magnificent rosebush heavy with crimson blooms. 300 years ago, before she passed. I've maintained it in her memory." Sonia looked up at him, seeing past the powerful Alpha to the son who'd loved his mother enough to tend her garden for 3 centuries. "It's beautiful. She had excellent taste." "She believed in mate bonds," he continued, his gaze distant, "even when my father told her I might never find mine due to my unique nature. She insisted that the moon goddess had a plan, that somewhere, someone was meant for me." His eyes found Sonia's. She would have adored you. The casual certainty in his voice made her chest ache. You don't know me well enough to say that. I know you chose to protect your child over yourself. I know you ran from an abusive situation despite the risks. I know you fought to survive when dying would have been easier. His hand covered hers where it rested on his arm. I know enough, Sonia, and I will spend a lifetime learning the rest. She wanted to believe him. Moon goddess. She wanted to believe that this could be real, that she could have this. Safety, gentleness, a mate who looked at her like she was precious. But fear coiled in her stomach, familiar and cold. What if I can't be what you need? The words tumbled out. Vulnerability laid bare. What if I'm too broken, too damaged? You deserve someone whole, someone strong, not someone who survived hell and came out fighting? Cassius turned to face her fully, his free hand coming up to cup her face with devastating gentleness. His palm was warm against her cheek, his thumb brushing away a tear she hadn't realized had fallen. Sonia, you are the strongest person I've ever met, and I have walked this earth for 3 centuries. I'm scared. Her voice came out small, honest. I'm terrified that I'll trust you and you'll become like him. That this kindness is temporary. That once the mate bond settles, once you realize what you've gotten, you'll... I won't. The words were absolute, a vow carved in stone. I will never lay a hand on you in anger. I will never make you fear me. And I will spend every day proving to you that not all alphas are monsters. His thumb traced her cheekbone, infinitely careful. You set the pace, Sonia. You tell me what you need, what you can handle. I'm not going anywhere. She searched his eyes, looking for the lie, the trap, the inevitable cruelty that always followed kindness. But she found only patience, determination, and something that looked dangerously like devotion. I need time, she whispered. I need to learn to trust again. Then take all the time you need. I've waited 300 years for you. I can wait longer. The baby kicked, a strong flutter against Sonia's ribs, and she winced slightly. Immediately, Cassius's attention dropped to her belly, concern flooding his features. Are you all right? Do we need to get Aurora? Should we go back inside? Despite everything, Sonia found herself smiling. She's just active today. She does that when I'm emotional. May I? Cassius's hand hovered near her belly, asking permission, and something in Sonia's chest cracked open at the request. Darius had never asked, had viewed her pregnancy as an inconvenience at best. She guided his large hand to where the baby was moving, pressing his palm flat against the swell of her stomach. They both held still, waiting, and then, a strong kick directly against his hand. Cassius's expression transformed into something Sonia had no name for. Wonder, maybe. Reverence. His golden eyes filled with emotion as he felt the baby move again, as this tiny life he'd claimed as his own made her presence known. She's strong, he murmured, his voice rough. Like her mother. She's stubborn, Sonia corrected, but warmth bloomed in her chest. Already causing trouble. Then she'll fit right in. Cassius's smile was slight but genuine, transforming his severe features into something almost boyish. His hand remained on her belly, and the baby seemed to respond to his touch, kicking repeatedly as if saying hello. I swear to you, little one, I will protect you and your mother with my life. You will never know fear, never know pain. You will be loved and cherished and safe. He was talking to her daughter. This ancient, powerful Alpha King was making promises to an unborn child who wasn't even his by blood. Sonia felt tears streaming down her face, overwhelmed by the tenderness of it, by the impossibility that this could be her life now. Why are you crying? Cassius's concern was immediate, his other hand coming back to her face. Did I say something wrong? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. You're perfect, She sobbed, the words escaping before she could stop them. You're so perfect, and I don't understand why, but I'm so grateful, and I'm terrified that it's not real. Cassius pulled her gently against his chest, his arms coming around her carefully, giving her space to pull away if she needed but offering comfort if she wanted it. Sonia melted into his embrace, her face pressed against his shirt, breathing in his scent, pine and snow and something uniquely him that made her wolf purr with contentment. It's real, he murmured against her hair. I'm real. This is real. And I'm not going anywhere. I promise you, Sonia. On my life. On my crown. On everything I am. I will never let anyone hurt you again. She believed him. Moon goddess help her? She believed him. They stood like that in the garden surrounded by roses, the Alpha King and his broken, pregnant mate, while the spring sun warmed their skin and hope began to bloom, fragile but growing, in Sonia's battered heart. The message arrived a week later, shattering the peace Sonia had begun to believe in. She was in the private sitting room adjacent to her bedchamber, reading a book about herbs that Cassius had brought her, when Marcus burst through the door without knocking. The beta's face was grim, his hand clutching a sealed letter. "Where's Cassius?" Marcus demanded, his eyes sweeping the room. "He went to the training grounds to—" But Marcus was already gone, his footsteps echoing down the hallway. Sonia's stomach dropped, dread pooling cold and heavy in her belly. She knew, somehow, what that letter meant before anyone spoke a word. Darius had found her. She pushed herself up from the chair, her movements clumsy with pregnancy and panic, and followed Marcus's path. She shouldn't. She should stay in her room, stay safe. But her body moved of its own accord, drawn by terrible certainty. She found them in the throne room, Cassius standing rigid before his throne while Marcus spoke in low, urgent tones. The letter was clutched in Cassius's hand, and even from a distance Sonia could see the fury rolling off him in waves. "Cassius?" Her voice came out small, afraid. His head snapped up, his golden eyes finding hers across the vast room. For a moment, she saw the monster the legend spoke of, ancient rage and predatory power barely leashed. Then his expression smoothed, concern overtaking fury. "Sonia, you shouldn't be out of bed," Aurora said. "It's from Darius, isn't it?" She moved forward despite her shaking legs. "That letter. He knows I'm here." Cassius exchanged a glance with Marcus, and that look told her everything she needed to know. Her knees buckled, terror flooding her system, and suddenly Cassius was there, catching her, easing her into his throne with careful hands. "Breathe," he commanded gently, kneeling before her. "Just breathe, Sonia. You're safe." "What does it say?" She grabbed his shirt, fisting the fabric in her hands. "What does he want?" "It doesn't matter what he wants. He can't have you." "Tell me." Cassius's jaw clenched, but he reached into his pocket and pulled out the letter, unfolding it so she could read. The words swam before her eyes, Darius's harsh scrawl forming sentences that made bile rise in her throat. "Alpha King Cassius, the female you harbor is mine by right of mating. She fled my territory unlawfully and carries my child, making her theft of pack property punishable by death. I demand her immediate return. Refuse, and I will bring war to your doorstep. You have 3 days to comply. Alpha Darius of the Shadowcrest Pack." "No." Sonia shook her head frantically, horror overwhelming her. "No, he'll kill me. He'll kill the baby. Cassius, you have to. I'm not giving you back to him." Cassius's voice was absolute, carved from granite. "Not in 3 days, not in 3 centuries. You're mine, Sonia. Mine to protect. He'll come here. He'll bring warriors. I've brought war to your kingdom, don't you understand?" She was crying now, gasping through panic. "You have to let me go. I'll run again. You're not running." Cassius gripped her shoulders firmly but carefully. Listen to me. Darius is a minor alpha with delusions of importance. His pack numbers may be 200. I command thousands. He cannot touch you here. You don't know him. You don't know what he's capable of. And he doesn't know me. Something dangerous flashed in Cassius's eyes. Marcus, send a response. Tell Darius that Sonia is under my protection as my mate, that any claim he had on her is void, and that if he or any of his warriors set foot in my territory, I will consider it an act of war that I will end swiftly and permanently. Yes, sire. Marcus bowed and left quickly. Sonia clutched Cassius's arms, desperate. You don't understand. He won't just give up. He'll find a way to hurt me, to hurt you. He always finds a way. Then let him try. Cassius's expression softened as he looked at her, one hand coming up to cup her face. I have lived for 3 centuries, Sonia. I have fought in wars that would turn your blood cold. I have defended this kingdom against threats that would make Darius look like a child playing warrior. And I have never, not once, failed to protect what's mine. His thumb stroked her cheek. You are my mate. Your child is my child. And I would burn the world to ash before I let him take you from me. She wanted to believe him. She wanted to collapse into his certainty and let him handle everything. But years of Darius's torment had taught her that hope was dangerous, that trusting alphas to protect her only led to more pain. I need air, she whispered. I can't. I need to get out of here. Cassius hesitated, clearly torn between keeping her locked safely away and giving her what she needed. Finally, he nodded. The market. We'll go to the market. Public, visible, with guards. You can walk, see the kingdom, clear your head. You don't have to come with me. You must have important. Nothing is more important than you. He helped her stand, his arms steady around her waist. Let me show you my kingdom, Sonia. Let me show you the life you could have here. The market was a revelation of color and sound and life. Vendors called out their wares, fresh bread, gleaming jewelry, bolts of fabric in every shade imaginable. Children darted between stalls, laughing. Wolves in human form mingled peacefully, the atmosphere one of prosperity and safety. Cassius walked beside Sonia, his presence ensuring a respectful distance from the crowds, but not so much that she felt isolated. Guards flanked them discreetly, and Sonia noticed how the people reacted to their king, respect mixed with genuine affection, not the fear she'd seen in Darius's pack. They love you, she observed quietly as a mother with a baby waved to Cassius, her smile bright. I protect them. I've built a kingdom where strength doesn't mean cruelty, where packs can coexist peacefully. He glanced at her. It's the kingdom I want to raise our daughter in. Our daughter? The casual claim made her chest ache. They stopped at a stall selling children's clothing, tiny dresses and soft blankets. Cassius picked up a small outfit, cream-colored with delicate embroidery, and held it up for Sonia's approval. What do you think? He asked. And the domesticity of it, the powerful Alpha King shopping for baby clothes, nearly undid her. It's perfect, she managed. He bought it, along with several other items. The vendor's eyes wide with delight at the Alpha King's patronage. Sonia felt something unfamiliar blooming in her chest. Hope? Joy? The possibility of an actual future? Then she saw him. A male, rough-looking and scarred, pushing through the crowd with singular purpose. His eyes locked on Sonia, and she saw intent in them, saw death, and she knew with terrible certainty that Darius had sent him. Cassius! The male lunged, a blade appearing in his hand, moving with supernatural speed toward Sonia's unprotected belly. She tried to twist away, but her pregnant body was too slow, too clumsy, and time seemed to slow as the blade arced toward her baby. Cassius moved like lightning. One moment he was beside her, The next, he was between her and the attacker, his hand catching the male's wrist mid-strike. The crack of breaking bone echoed through the suddenly silent market. The assassin screamed, and Cassius's other hand closed around his throat, lifting him off the ground. Guards! Marcus appeared with 4 warriors, surrounding Sonia protectively. Get her to safety! But Sonia couldn't move, couldn't breathe, watching as Cassius's eyes bled completely gold as his alpha power rolled out like thunder. The assassin struggled weakly, choking, and Cassius leaned close to whisper something Sonia couldn't hear. Then he twisted, sharp and brutal, and the assassin went limp. Cassius dropped the body like garbage, his attention immediately swinging to Sonia. He was at her side in an instant, his hands running over her carefully, checking for injuries. Are you hurt? Did he touch you? Sonia, talk to me. I'm fine, Pain lanced through her belly, sharp and familiar, and Sonia gasped. No, not now. What's wrong? Cassius's face went white beneath his tan. Contractions. Sonia grabbed his arm, fear flooding her. The stress? The baby. I'm having contractions. Alara. Someone get Alara. Cassius swept Sonia into his arms, cradling her against his chest. Hold on! Just hold on! I've got you! He ran through the market, the crowds parting like water, his speed supernatural. Sonia clutched his shirt, feeling her belly tighten painfully, feeling the baby's distress. I'm sorry, she sobbed against his chest. I'm so sorry. This is my fault. I brought this danger to you, to your kingdom. This is not your fault. Cassius's voice was fierce, absolute. None of this is your fault. Darius did this. And I swear to you, Sonia, I swear on everything sacred. He will pay for it. They burst through the fortress doors, Cassius shouting orders that sent servants scattering. He carried her back to the healing chambers where this had all started, where Aurora was already preparing supplies with practiced efficiency. Put her on the bed, Aurora commanded. Carefully. What happened? Assassination attempt. She saw it. The stress triggered contractions. Cassius laid Sonia down with infinite care, his hand finding hers immediately. The baby? Alara examined Sonia quickly, her hands glowing with healing magic. After a moment that felt like an eternity, she nodded. The contractions are stopping. The baby is distressed but stable. It was a false alarm, but Sonia needs complete bed rest now. No stress, no excitement. Her body is protecting the baby, but another scare like this could trigger actual premature labor. Cassius turned to Sonia, his expression tortured. I'm so sorry. I should have stayed at the fortress, should never have taken you to the market, should have... You saved my life? Sonia squeezed his hand weakly. You killed an assassin with your bare hands to protect me. And I'd do it 1,000 times over. He brought her hand to his lips, pressing a fervent kiss to her knuckles. But you were right. You brought danger here, just not in the way you think. Darius's danger is his own making, and I will end it. But first, I need you safe. Something in his tone made Sonia's stomach clench with new fear. What are you going to do? Whatever it takes. Cassius's eyes were hard, determined. Starting with making sure Darius understands that touching my mate means death. Sonia wanted to argue, wanted to tell him that confronting Darius would only make things worse, but exhaustion pulled at her, the healing magic lulling her towards sleep. Her eyes drifted closed, Cassius's hand warm in hers, his presence a shield against the nightmares. But as she slipped into unconsciousness, one thought circled through her mind like a warning. She needed to leave, to run again, to protect this male who'd shown her such kindness, even if it meant breaking her own heart. She couldn't let Cassius go to war for her. She wasn't worth it. The decision settled into her bones like poison, like necessity. Tomorrow, she would plan her escape. Tonight, she would let herself pretend, just once more, that she could have this. Safety, protection, love. Tomorrow she would save Cassius from herself. The safe house stood in the heart of the sacred forest, a modest cabin that belied the powerful wards surrounding it. Sonia stood at the window, one hand pressed against the cool glass, the other cradling her swollen belly as she watched snow begin to fall through ancient pines. 3 weeks had passed since Cassius had sent her away. 3 weeks of silence broken only by Marcus's carefully neutral reports that the situation was being handled. She didn't believe him. The mate bond stretched between her and Cassius like a taut wire, singing with tension and distance. She felt echoes of his emotions: fury, determination, pain he tried to hide, and each sensation made her want to run back to him. Political consequences be damned. But she'd seen the council's faces when they delivered their ultimatum: marry their chosen candidate or face civil war. Reject the pregnant, broken Omega, or watch his kingdom burn. They'd looked at her like she was a stain on their perfect political tapestry. And Sonia had understood with painful clarity that she would always be the weakness they exploited, the vulnerability they attacked. So when Cassius had cupped her face in the darkness of her chamber, his golden eyes swimming with anguish, and told her this separation was temporary, that he needed her safe while he handled the council, she'd nodded. She'd let Marcus bundle her into a carriage in the dead of night. Let them bring her to this hidden place. Let Cassius believe she would wait patiently while he fought battles she'd caused. She hadn't told him about her plan to disappear completely once the baby was born, to spare him the choice between her and his kingdom. The door opened behind her, and Alara entered carrying a tea tray, her weathered face creased with concern. "You should be resting, not standing at windows brooding." "I'm not brooding." Sonia turned, managing a weak smile. "I'm strategically contemplating." "That's just brooding with fancier words." Alara set the tray down, pouring tea with practiced efficiency. Marcus brought another letter from Cassius, third one this week. Sonia's heart clenched. She'd read the others until the paper grew soft from handling, had traced his handwriting like a lifeline. He wrote about his strategy, about dismantling Darius's alliance piece by piece, about exposing council corruption. But beneath the tactical details, his desperation bled through. "Wait for me. Trust me. I will fix this and come for you. You are mine, and I am yours. And nothing will keep us apart." Beautiful lies alphas told when they still believed they could have everything. "I can't read it," she whispered. "It hurts too much." Alara's expression softened with sympathy, and something else. Frustration, maybe. "That male is tearing apart centuries of political alliances for you. He's challenged Darius to single combat, invoked ancient laws that haven't been used in 200 years. He's doing everything possible to make you safe, to make you his in a way no one can contest. The least you could do is read his letters." "I know what I am to him." Sonia's hand moved protectively over her belly. "I know he cares. But caring isn't enough when an entire kingdom is at stake. Eventually, he'll realize I'm not worth the cost." "Or," Alara said quietly, pouring a second cup of tea, "you'll realize that you are worth it, and that believing otherwise is just another way Darius damaged you." Before Sonia could respond, Marcus burst through the door, his expression grim. "It's done. Cassius fought Darius on the neutral battlefield 2 hours ago. He won." Relief and terror flooded through Sonia in equal measure. "Is he—" "He's alive. Injured, but alive. Darius is dead." Marcus's jaw tightened. "The Alpha King sustained wounds he's refusing to let healers treat fully. He's already on his way back to the fortress to handle the council." The bond between them pulsed with pain. With exhaustion Cassius was trying to hide, and Sonia's wolf rose up snarling. Her mate was hurt, was fighting battles wounded, and she was hiding in a cabin like a coward. No, not hiding. Running. Again. Always running. "I need to see him," she said, moving toward the door. Marcus blocked her path, his expression sympathetic but firm. My orders are to keep you here until the king sends word. The council is unpredictable right now, and pain lanced through Sonia's belly, sharp and familiar, stealing her breath. She doubled over, gasping, her hand flying to her stomach. Sonia? Aurora was at her side instantly, supporting her weight. Is it the baby? Contraction. Sonia breathed through it, feeling her belly go rigid beneath her palm. Just one. It's probably nothing. But even as she spoke, liquid warmth flooded down her thighs, soaking through her dress. She looked down at the puddle forming on the floor, understanding and terror warring in her chest. Her water just broke, Aurora said, her healer's calm settling over her like a mantle. Marcus, I need hot water, clean linens, and every candle in this cabin lit. Now. The baby's not due for another 2 weeks. Sonia's voice pitched high with panic as another contraction hit, harder than the first. It's too early, she's not ready, I'm not ready. Babies come when they decide to come, not when we schedule them. Aurora guided her toward the bedroom, her strength surprising for her age. And this little one has decided that today's her day. Marcus, move. The beta fled, and Sonia heard him shouting orders to the guards outside. Aurora eased her onto the bed, helping her out of her wet dress, covering her with a soft blanket. I can't do this without Cassius. Sonia clutched Aurora's hand, tears streaming down her face. I need him here. The bond, it's pulling. It hurts. I need... You can do this, Aurora said firmly, meeting her eyes. You survived Darius. You survived bleeding out in a frozen forest. You survived heartbreak and exile and assassination attempts. You can survive bringing your daughter into the world. Another contraction ripped through her, and Sonia screamed, her nails digging into Aurora's palm. The pain was tremendous, primal, unlike anything she'd experienced. But beneath it, she felt something else. Her daughter's determination, her stubborn refusal to wait any longer. She's like me, Sonia thought through the haze of pain. She's a fighter. Hours blurred together, pain and pressure building with each contraction. Marcus paced outside the door, radiating anxiety through the thin walls. Aurora remained calm, coaching Sonia through each wave, monitoring the baby's position with gentle, glowing hands. But something was wrong. Sonia felt it in the weakening bond, in the way her strength seemed to drain faster than it should. The baby was in distress, her heartbeat erratic, and Sonia's own body was failing. She's not descending properly, Aurora said quietly, her brow furrowed with concentration. The stress from the broken bond is weakening you both. Sonia, I need you to push through this. Find your strength. I don't have any left. Sonia's head lolled back against the pillows, exhaustion dragging at her. I'm so tired, Aurora. Maybe it's better if... Don't you dare. Aurora gripped her face, forcing eye contact. Don't you dare give up on her. She's fighting to live, and you will fight with her. Not for Cassius, not for me, not for anyone else, for yourself, for your daughter, because you both deserve to survive this. Another contraction hit, and Sonia bore down, screaming her fury and pain into the candlelit room. She thought of Darius's fists, of bleeding in the snow, of every moment she'd been told she was worthless, broken, undeserving of love. And she thought of Cassius's gentle hands cradling her face, of his absolute certainty that she was worth a kingdom, of the way he'd held her belly and promised protection to a child that wasn't even his blood. She thought of her daughter, this stubborn little fighter who'd refused to give up even when death seemed certain. We are survivors, Sonia realized with crystalline clarity. Both of us. And I will not let either of us die here. She pushed with everything she had, drawing on reserves she didn't know existed, channeling pain into purpose. The bond with Cassius flared suddenly, sending a pulse of his strength across the distance, as if he felt her struggle and was lending her his power. That's it, Alara encouraged. She's crowning. One more push, Sonia. Just one more. Sonia gathered herself, drew in a shaking breath, and pushed with every ounce of will she possessed. The world narrowed to sensation, pressure, pain, effort, and then sudden, overwhelming relief as her daughter slipped free into Alara's waiting hands. For a moment, silence. Then, a cry, strong and furious, announcing her arrival to the world. "She's perfect," Alara breathed, placing the squirming, blood-streaked baby on Sonia's chest. "Completely perfect." Sonia's hands came up instinctively, cradling her daughter's tiny body, feeling the warmth of her skin, the rapid flutter of her heartbeat. She was so small, so impossibly fragile, with a shock of dark hair and eyes that would probably be gray like her mother's. "Aurora," Sonia whispered, the name coming to her with absolute certainty. "Your name is Aurora." The baby quieted at her voice, tiny fingers curling around Sonia's thumb with surprising strength. Love crashed through Sonia like a tidal wave, so intense it stole her breath. This was her daughter, her child, the life she'd protected and fought for and nearly died for, and she was perfect. Ilara worked efficiently, cutting the cord, cleaning them both, wrapping Aurora in soft blankets. But as she worked, her expression shifted, her eyes going distant and unfocused. "Ilara?" Sonia's voice was weak but concerned. "What's wrong?" The healer blinked, her attention snapping back. "Nothing's wrong. Something's right." She placed her hand over Aurora's tiny chest, her palm glowing with magic. "This child carries ancient power, Sonia. I can feel it in her blood, in her essence. She's marked by the moon goddess herself." Before Sonia could respond, the room changed. Silver light flooded through the windows, bright as the full moon despite the afternoon hour. The air thickened, charged with divine presence, and Sonia's wolf dropped to its belly in instinctive submission. A figure materialized at the foot of the bed, ethereal, radiant, wearing the moon itself like a crown. The moon goddess, in all her terrible beauty, gazed down at Sonia and her newborn daughter. "My child," the goddess's voice resonated through the cabin, through Sonia's bones, through her very soul. "You have suffered much. You have survived what would have broken others. And now you must understand why." "Why?" Sonia's voice came out as a whisper, awe and terror warring in her chest. "You carry my bloodline. You are descended from the first Luna, the first of my chosen, and that power sleeps in your veins, waiting to wake." The goddess moved closer, her luminous hand hovering over Aurora. "Your daughter is destined to unite the wolf clans, to bring an era of peace and partnership rather than dominance and fear. But she cannot fulfill her destiny without her mother's strength." "I don't understand." Tears streamed down Sonia's face. "I'm nobody. I'm just... You are mine." The declaration rang with finality. "You always have been. Every trial, every pain, every moment of survival, all of it forged you into the Luna Queen this world needs. You cannot keep running, child. You cannot keep hiding behind the belief that you are too broken to deserve love, too damaged to claim power. You must rise. You must stand beside your king, not behind him. You must teach my children that true strength comes not from dominance, but from partnership, not from fear, but from love." The goddess's hand touched Sonia's forehead, and power flooded through her. Ancient, vast, overwhelming. She felt dormant gifts awakening, felt connections forming to every wolf in every pack, felt the full weight and glory of her heritage settling into her bones. She also felt the pain receding, her body healing with supernatural speed, strength returning in a rush that left her gasping. "Go to him," the moon goddess commanded, already beginning to fade. "Your mate fights alone, wounded and weary. Show him that he was right to choose you. Show them all that love is not weakness, but the greatest power of all. The silver light vanished, leaving only candlelight and the soft sound of Aurora's breathing. Sonia looked down at her daughter, then up at Alara, who knelt beside the bed with tears streaming down her weathered face. "Did you see?" "Every moment," Alara confirmed, her voice thick with emotion. "The goddess herself blessed you both." Sonia felt different, felt changed in ways she couldn't fully articulate. The constant fear that had lived in her chest since Darius's first blow was gone, replaced by quiet certainty. The belief that she was worthless, broken, undeserving. The moon goddess had burned it away with divine fire, leaving only truth in its wake. She was strong. She was worthy. She was chosen. And Cassius, her mate, her king, needed her. "Help me up," she said, her voice steady despite her body's exhaustion. "Sonia, you just gave birth. You need to rest, to recover." "The goddess healed me." Sonia pushed herself upright, testing her strength. The post-birth pain was minimal, already fading, her body rejuvenating with supernatural efficiency. "I can feel it, Alara. I'm stronger than I've ever been. And Cassius is at the fortress, wounded, facing down a council that wants to destroy him. I need to go to him. We need to go to him." She looked down at Aurora, sleeping peacefully in her blankets. Her daughter. Her destiny. Her reason to stop running and start fighting. "Prepare the carriage," Sonia commanded, feeling authority settle over her like a mantle. "We're going home." Marcus burst through the door, his face pale. "I just received word from the fortress. The council is attempting to remove Cassius from the throne while he's weakened from the fight with Darius. They're calling for an emergency vote, claiming he's unstable, unfit to lead." His eyes met Sonia's. "They're trying to take everything from him." Rage, unlike anything Sonia had ever felt, blazed through her, righteous and fierce. They would try to steal her mate's crown while he was wounded defending her honor. They would attempt to destroy him for choosing love over their political games. No, not while she breathed. "How long until we can reach the fortress?" Her voice was calm, deadly. 4 hours by carriage." Marcus studied her intently. "But Sonia, you're in no condition." 4 hours then." She stood, her legs steady despite having just given birth, her body infused with divine power. "Ilara, I need clothes. Something fitting for a Luna Queen. Marcus, send riders ahead. Tell Cassius I'm coming. Tell him to hold on just a little longer." She looked down at Aurora one more time, at the tiny face that would change the world. "And tell him we're coming home. All of us. And we're done running." The throne room was packed with wolves from every major pack, their voices rising in heated debate that echoed off ancient stone walls. Cassius stood before his throne, his body screaming with wounds he'd refused to let healers treat completely, blood still seeping through hastily applied bandages beneath his formal tunic. He'd rushed back from the battlefield, had killed Darius with his bare hands, and felt nothing but grim satisfaction. But apparently, that wasn't enough for the council. They wanted everything. "You've proven yourself unstable," Councilman Aldrich declared, his voice carrying over the crowd. "Killing an alpha over a female? Invoking ancient combat laws for a pregnant Omega who isn't even carrying your blood? This obsession has made you unfit to lead." "I invoked my right as her mate," Cassius growled, his alpha power pressing against every wolf in the room. "A right none of you can contest." "A mate you haven't formally claimed or bonded with," another council member interjected. "A mate who you sent away rather than presenting to the packs as your Luna. Perhaps because you know she's unacceptable?" Rage threatened to consume him, but Cassius locked it down with iron control. His injuries throbbed, his body desperate for rest, but he couldn't show weakness. Not now. Not when they were circling like vultures, ready to tear apart everything he'd built. Sonia is under my protection. She will be my Luna Queen. This is not negotiable. Then we call for a vote of no confidence. Aldrich's smile was sharp. Ancient law allows the council to remove an Alpha King if 2/3 agree he's compromised, and I believe we have the votes. Marcus moved to Cassius's side, his hand on his weapon. This is treason. This is preservation, Aldrich countered. The Alpha King has lost perspective. He needs to step down before he destroys everything our ancestors built. Cassius's vision wavered, blood loss and exhaustion catching up with him. He locked his knees, refusing to fall, refusing to give them the satisfaction of seeing him weak. Sonia, he thought desperately across the bond. I'm sorry. I tried. The massive throne room doors burst open with a sound like thunder. Every head turned as Sonia walked in, her daughter cradled in her arms, Ilara at her side. She looked ethereal, powerful, dressed in a gown of silver that seemed to catch moonlight despite the afternoon hour. Her hair fell loose around her shoulders, and her gray eyes blazed with authority. But more than that, she glowed, literally glowed with silver light that pulsed in time with her heartbeat. Ancient magic made visible. The vote is unnecessary, Sonia announced, her voice carrying effortlessly across the vast space, because I'm here to accept the mate bond and claim my place as Luna Queen. Shock rippled through the assembly. Cassius stared at her, his heart lurching with hope and fear. She shouldn't be here, had just given birth, but she walked toward him with steady grace, power radiating from her in waves. You have no right to interrupt these proceedings, Aldrich snarled. You're not Pack, not recognized. I am descended from the first Luna. Sonia's voice cut through his objections like a blade. I carry the moon goddess's blessing, and I claim my mate. She reached Cassius, and the moment her free hand touched his arm, the bond between them exploded into visibility. Golden and silver light intertwined, rising from their bodies like flames, marking them for all to see as true mates blessed by the divine. Cassius felt her strength flow into him, felt his wounds begin to heal, felt hope surge through his battered body. Sonia, he breathed. You came back. I'm done running. She looked up at him, her eyes full of love and determination. I'm done believing I'm not worthy. The moon goddess herself told me I was made for this, made for you. And I will stand beside you, not behind you. We face them together. He wanted to kiss her, to pull her against him and never let go, but he settled for covering her hand with his, their bond singing with reunion. Together, they turned to face the council. The old laws say an unmated alpha is vulnerable, Sonia said, her voice carrying to every corner. But I stand here mated and marked. The old laws say a Luna must be chosen from approved bloodlines, but I carry the bloodline of the first Luna herself. The old laws say strength comes from dominance. But I tell you now, true strength comes from partnership, from love, from choosing to build together rather than rule through fear. Her power flared brighter, and every wolf in the room felt it, felt the ancient authority in her blood. I am Sonia, descendant of the moon goddess's chosen, mother of Aurora who will unite the clans, mate to the Alpha King Cassius. And I claim my right to stand as Luna Queen. She turned to Cassius, her expression softening. If you'll have me, broken parts, difficult past, stubborn daughter, and all. I would have you if you came with nothing, Cassius said roughly, his hand coming up to cup her face despite the watching crowd. You are everything, Sonia. Everything I didn't know I needed. Everything I will spend my life protecting and cherishing. Then let's show them what true mates can do. Their lips met in a kiss that sealed the bond completely, and the combined power of their connection blazed through the throne room like lightning. Wolves dropped to their knees instinctively, recognizing divine blessing when they witnessed it. When they broke apart, Cassius pulled Sonia against his side, his arm around her waist, and faced down the council together. "Anyone who challenges my mate challenges me," he declared. "Anyone who questions her right to rule questions the moon goddess herself. And I am done tolerating political games that threaten what's mine." One by one, the loyal packs bent the knee. Then the uncertain ones. Finally, even Aldrich, his face twisted with fury, lowered himself in submission. "All hail the Alpha King Cassius," Marcus called out, his voice ringing with triumph, "and all hail Luna Queen Sonia." The response was deafening, a chorus of voices pledging loyalty, accepting their rule. Aurora woke and cried, her voice cutting through the noise, and Sonia soothed her gently, rocking her daughter against her chest. Cassius looked down at them both, his mate, his child, and felt his ancient heart swell with emotion too vast to name. "I'm injured," he admitted quietly. "I need healing." "Then let me help you." Sonia's hand glowed silver as she pressed it to his chest, and Cassius felt her power flow into him, knitting wounds, easing pain. "We're partners now. Your battles are mine. Your wounds are mine. And together, we're unstoppable." He believed her. For the first time in 3 centuries, the Alpha King believed in something beyond duty and survival. He believed in love.